Every single person has what is called a line of sight. The line of sight is what you see when you look up. It's the job you do and what is going on around you. And everybody can find ways to improve what is going on in their line of sight. Let me just say this, that success in life is directly proportionate to the quantity of new ideas that you come up with on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. A person who comes up with a continuous stream of good ideas, or even a continuous stream of average ideas, is a person who is destined to great success in business. People who come up with no ideas or very few ideas are usually stuck where they are. So look in your line of sight. What do you see around you that may lead to improvements? Every advance in human life begins with an idea in the mind of one person. It's ideas that you generate that enable you to solve your problems, overcome your obstacles, and achieve your goals. Ideas are the keys to the future. It's hardly possible for you to achieve anything of note except to the degree to which you think and do something new and different from what's been done before. All it takes is a small innovation to lay the foundation for a fortune and great success in life. Ideas are a mode of transportation, a vehicle that you can use to take you from wherever you are to wherever you want to go. Your job is simply to generate as many ideas as possible, to evaluate them carefully against your current goals, and then to take action on them. There's virtually no obstacle in life that you cannot overcome with the power of thought, with the power of creative concentration, with the power of ideas. Everything you see around you is the result of what was initially a single idea in the mind of a single person. Our entire world started from thought brought into reality. All great changes in human life and human destiny begin with an idea that causes you to see things differently and to take action that you would not have taken in the absence of that idea. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever your situation, you have the creative capacity in the form of an infinite ability to generate ideas to solve any problem and achieve any goal. It's up to you.
One idea can make you rich. A lot of good ideas can move you steadily upward in the work you do, and ideas are free. Now just think, there's nothing now being done commercially that will not be done better, much better in the years ahead. Next year's homes and most of what's in them will be better than this year's. Next year's cars will be better. Next year's manufacturing, distributing, marketing, and selling and advertising should be better. Nothing is now being done as well as it must be done in the future, and every innovation, every new improvement will be somebody's brainchild. Remember, whatever you now do for a living will be done differently, quite differently a few years from now. Never in the history of mankind have the opportunities for all of us been so great. But the great majority of people will be the beneficiaries of progress, not those who bring it about. Which group are you going to belong to? If you want to be a contributor, not just a beneficiary, here's the first rule. It says, the gold mine. The key to every human being's success lies in his mind, the gold mine between his ears. So, think. Think deliberately and with a purpose. Use the gold mine between your ears. Begin by thinking at a special time every day. Here's the best way I've found to make yourself think. Start getting up a little earlier than you're accustomed to. Right off the bat, this gives you extra time that 95% of the men in this country are not using at all. 1 hour earlier a day gives you 6.5 extra 40-hour weeks a year. But at this time in the morning, sit down to a clean sheet of paper. At the top of the paper, write your financial goal. Now, this is the amount of money per year you intend to earn soon. Incidentally, you might like to keep this to yourself too. It's nobody's business but yours. Then, start to think. Think about your goal and what it'll mean to you and your family. Then see how many ideas you can come up with to help you reach that goal. Ideas to improve what you now do for a living. Try for 5 ideas every morning and write them down. And save those sheets of paper in a special idea file. Many, perhaps most of your ideas will be worthless, but some of them will be very good. A few will be excellent, and every once in a while you will come up with something really outstanding. You see, 5 ideas a day is 25 a week if you don't think on weekends. Now that's more than 1,000 ideas a year. One idea can get you to that income you're shooting for. Try not to think of things outside of your own line of work or whatever it is you're most interested in. To think well and profitably, you must discipline your thinking. Keep it on course, controlled, keep it in one field, specialize. Back during the Depression, a New York lumber dealer was growing rich while other lumber dealers were going broke. When asked how he did it, he said, "Every evening when I get home, I close myself up in a quiet room, sit in a comfortable chair, and ask myself, how will my business be conducted 10 years from now? Then I try to do it now." Instead of competing with every other lumber dealer, which is what they were doing, he was creating. He was doing the very thing man was designed to do, the very thing man does best. The experts tell us that every one of us has within him deep reservoirs of ability, even genius, that he habitually fails to use. Well, let's begin now to reach into these deep, rich areas of pure net profit and use more of our real abilities. Let's think.
Well, not too long ago, the great Nobel Prize-winning Dr. Schweitzer was asked in London, "Doctor, what's wrong with men today?" And the great doctor replied, "Men simply don't think. If we follow the crowd, we haven't got a chance. If we think independently and follow our good ideas with action and stay with it, nothing in the world can keep us from succeeding."
And please appreciate this, because I started so far down, I had to look up to see bottom. Please appreciate this. All you have to do is study what the top 10% of people do and do the same things. All you have to do is continuously learn and practice, and as sure as God made little green apples by putting one step in front of the other, you must get into the top 10%, as long as you set that as your goal. Now, I work with many of the best people in many fields, and here's the turning point. In every case, when a man or a woman goes to the top, it is after they make a decision to go to the top. And if you make that decision, I'll tell you what will happen, is that you'll run into a lot of rough weather. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have a lot of disappointments. You're going to fall back several times. In fact, we say that life is a process of 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And every time you feel you've made some progress, for a while, somebody else will make more progress than you. But if you keep at it and keep at it, you will ultimately get into the top 10%. Knowledge today, according to our statistics, knowledge is doubling every 2 to 3 years. Knowledge is doubling in your field. What does that mean? It means if your knowledge isn't doubling every 2 to 3 years in your field, you're in serious trouble. Do you know what we know? That an engineer who comes out of school today, 5 years later, is becoming obsolete. 10 years later, can be totally replaced by a brand new engineer, because the brand new engineer is learning technology and skills that the engineer who graduated 10 years before simply doesn't have at all. So therefore, if a young engineer is not constantly keeping up with his skills, after 10 years of experience, he can be obsoleted out and replaced by someone with 1 year's worth of experience who's got a fresh education. If in many industries today, if you were to take a sabbatical and go away for a year or two, when you came back, you'd have to start off way, way down the ladder, because most of the knowledge you went away with would be irrelevant when you got back. What does this dictate to you and I? It means that we must be continually taking in new information. We must be continually sharpening and upgrading our skills, or what is happening is the rest of the world will pass around us. And here's the most wonderful thing.
The only thing that sets us apart as human beings is our divine minds. Everything that means anything to us, our love of our families, our faith, our dreams, our talents and abilities, our religion, everything we know, is connected to us solely through our minds. Our minds represent our hope and our future. Yet, as a rule, it is the last place the average person will turn to for help. Your mind contains riches beyond belief, but you must prospect this rich and largely unexplored continent. And the only way it can be prospected is by systematic study and systematic thinking. Your mind is like a muscle. It will develop only to the extent that you use it, no more. By devoting an hour a day to study, you're building your mind into a powerful and creative servant. If you only do this 5 days a week, it comes to 260 hours a year. That's 1,300 hours in 5 years, or the equivalent of 162 8-hour days devoted to study and research. Believe me, if you'll do this, in 5 years you'll be one of the most accomplished professionals in your field, and you'll have the world on a string. You will virtually be able to write your own ticket. The average man works 8 hours a day, about 50 weeks a year, for 40 years. That's time enough to become great at anything. The time will pass anyway. We might as well reap the rewards.